Hey guys, welcome to Sketch a Day. I'm Spencer, where every day I give you something new about visual communication or drawing. And as you know, the new Star Wars movie is coming out, The Force Awakens, and I'm really excited. I need to go get my tickets. Hopefully I can get something good. In any case, one of my favorite things about the previous movies was the technology, the concepts, the big vision for everything that the producers and concept artists put together. So what I'd like to do today is look at one of my favorite things, which is Han Solo's blaster. And I'm going to be using markers, pens, and pencil to just do a quick sketch of that blaster that he used. I still think Han shot first. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So let's get started. So like I always do, I like to start light till I get it right. And because this blaster has kind of a cylindrical profile, I'm going to start with an axis. Now you can decide if you want the blaster to be facing down or up. I'm going to pick just an angle that's a little bit off of my horizon line, something like this. Okay, so with a nice axis, I can start to map out some ellipses. Actually, I'm going to do this again because, well, I won't do it again. I'll actually just use the same piece of paper because I don't want to waste it. But I need to have my axis a little bit higher here, okay? So starting with a couple shapes. I've got the nozzle, or whatever we want to call it. I don't know the names of all these parts. And we've got another body section here. And I'm just going to go straight through to the back, like so, and get the main part of the blaster drawn in. And it looks like there's a scope on the top as well. So I can start drawing the ellipse in for that. And on top of this scope, got a little adjustment knob up here. And you can kind of see this is really just methodical in terms of process, right? Because I have my axis mapped out here. It's really easy to then kind of plan things out and get all the details in that I need to. Okay, so from this main body, looks like, and I am using reference, and that's okay, but I'm just using actually just a side view of the blaster as reference. So I don't know exactly what it looks like in perspective, but I'm trying to just interpret that as I go here. And it's really cool, I think, when they did these movies, this looks like it's actually just made up of parts from another gun, which is kind of cool. I love all the practical special effects in the Star Wars movies. By practical, I mean, taking real things and combining them in interesting ways to then make a weapon, for example. So here it looks like we have some sort of piece on the front of this gun, and I'm going to assume that it's cylindrical. Again, I don't know exactly if it is, but I like it, so I'm going to do it. And then I've got an ellipse. It's going to be going that way, and if we go over, looks like we're about here for where the finger would go on this blaster. And of course, our trigger. Okay, and this kind of ramps up like so. And if I just draw a straight line down the side of my page here, that's going to give me a nice little reference point for when I'm drawing the other details on this, including this handle. Okay, and I've got a slight angle to this handle. And it's got some thickness to it, so I've got to kind of be sensitive to that, right? But this is a pretty cool handle. It's got a very simple shape to it, like so. Okay, nice and light. With all these little pieces and details. Okay, proportionally, this is a little bit off on the gun here, but I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna sweat it or fret about that too much. Alright, so now for the fun part. This actually is quite off the page, but that's okay. Let's throw a little background or something in here to help this not feel so off the page. But I wanted to do it really big, so we'll roll with it. Okay, but you can see why I moved it up, right? If I had kept it here, I would have been falling off the page, but I'm falling off the page another way. Alright, so quick tip, if you're drawing and you're comfortable drawing at one angle, try rotating the paper for when you're going to draw certain elements on the page. And the reason for that is that way you can draw your best ellipse or best line possible. The more experienced you are, however, the more you're then able to draw from pretty much any angle. So here I'm not really tracing the lines, but rather redrawing as I go. And this allows me to just keep the drawing nice and fresh. As I go, okay? And that's really important because you want your sketch, whether it's with pen like this one or markers or pencil, you want it to feel lively, like it was just done all at once. And to do that, you kind of have to get in the habit of redrawing instead of tracing if you are using, for example, a pen in this case, like I am. Okay, and just to keep it loose, I like to hold my pen a little further up the barrel as I'm sketching. So if you've been watching, you'll notice that pen is moved pretty far up, or my fingers rather, moved pretty far up the barrel of the pen. Okay, not really sure what the shape of this thing on the top is, so I'm just going to make up my own little doodad. And kind of modify it as I go. And you'll see here in the end, my plan anyways is to add some pencil to this just to quickly shade the forms on this gun. And we've got some holes. So I should try and sketch these the right size on the muzzle here. And my count is off from the actual one. I know. If you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, you'll be like, hey, there's 6 holes on that. Why'd you do 4? Well, I did 4 because this isn't actually Han Solo's blaster. It's Han Solo's blaster. See what I did there? That, my friends, was a dad joke. I am a dad. And I guess the older you get, the worse your jokes get. Okay. Let's get to the front. I'm going to pick up the pace just a little bit. So in the video, I'm doing this at normal pace, but what you'll see is just a little sped up version of this. Alright, so for the handle, what I can do for the texture is just kind of look at what's there. And I've got a nice screw here in place. And I have these 2 lines right here and right here. And if you're watching the sped up version, I kind of did the same thing over here and toward the front of the blaster. I'm gonna just tweak this just a little bit right through there. So just by putting a series of related lines, I'm going to switch my view here by rotating my paper. So just real quick for the effect. And then along the perimeter, just adding a little double line and a couple little ticks where these lines come in. And that's just going to help this read more like the texture actually wraps around the handle. Now, certainly you could take the time and calculate where each of these would go and figure it all out. But I'm kind of impatient, so I like to do things quicker if I can help it. Okay. So last thing I would do on a black and white sketch like this before applying some pencil is just add some line weight. And since the bottom of this is away from my light source, I'm typically assuming my light source is coming from the top, and from the top left or top right. Then I'm going to have a little thicker line where that edge would be away from the light. And even in a simple black and white sketch, something like this, I would have some variation in terms of depth. Okay. And right on the inside where we have things like the scope and the inside of the muzzle, I'm just going to use black. Nice fat Sharpie. Shade that in and just keep it nice and expressive. Okay. Now if I have something that's shiny, really, really shiny, like say the scope, you can watch my video that talks about how to draw chrome. I'm going to have a nice strong kind of element through the middle. Like so. Okay, so I can show that using a marker just to ink that in. And then right where it is toward the bottom, where I would normally show a gradient if I could, I'm just adding a couple double lines. Now toward the top of this, a few lines using your thin pen will help simulate the rest of the effect of this shiny scope. Okay, so now this reads shiny, the rest of this reads what it is. If I wanted to add some texture, for example, to this bottom section, I can do that just with a couple little stipple points. And as far as shading goes, notice how I'm holding the pen almost halfway up the barrel and just doing these hatch lines to represent value, okay, through the sketch. So wherever you need to show a value change, whether it's something like this, where there's a shadow on the handle. Okay, lines closer together mean that it's darker, and lines further apart mean that it's lighter. Okay, and now here's where I can take just a little bit of pencil and add shading on some of these pieces where I need it. So for example, on the muzzle, it may not be super shiny, but I want to show that there's some three-dimensionality to it. So just a little pencil here to show shadow, core, and highlight over the sketch really helps. This section in the front, that's again matte or flat with some texture. From the pencil, I can show the roundness of this thing on these little details as well, right? So you can combine tools, you know, don't feel like if you're using a pen or a paintbrush, that's the only thing you have to use. You can mix stuff and get some really cool effects from it, right? So like on the front of the gun here, toward the bottom, any of these recesses where something is kind of debossed and I want to show a little shadowing, I could do that like so. Or if there's a separation in the body or just a little flat section. So a little bit of pencil can really go a long way, and you can see how quickly we're starting to pull some three-dimensionality into this drawing. Okay, shadow core through here. Nice and strong to the back, and one that's a little bit lighter in the front. And some blending. And even on the top, just a little pencil toward the top of this shiny section as we fade down to a very strong horizon line on this scope. Just like that. Okay, well there you have it. Han Solo's blaster done with pen and pencil on some nice big sheet of marker paper here. As always, sign your work. I'm trying to get into the habit again of signing my stuff. So there, I'm signed, done enough, and ready to call this one good. With a drawing, it's always hard to know how much is enough and when you're really done, but sometimes you just gotta, call it. Even though there's more that I'd love to do to this, I think for me it serves the purpose that it's meant to serve. Thanks for watching. You can always find me online at on Facebook at facebook.com/sketchaday. And if you go there and like the page, be sure to click on the button that says like, and then there'll be a drop down that says notifications. Pick that and make sure everything's selected. Facebook does some weird stuff where if you like a page, they'll deselect everything by default. But what this means is for the 2 or 3 times I may post throughout the week, you'll actually get an update on your Facebook page that says, hey, Sketchaday posted something. And that way you won't miss out on things like this week's giveaway, which is a set of Copic markers. And to win those, all you need to do is go to Instagram, look out for the posts that have the markers in them, and leave a comment and mention a friend. There will be 3 posts throughout the week, so you can watch out for that. Like I said, you can find me on Instagram at sketchaday.com, Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Just click the little button down below right there, little circle, and hit subscribe. And that way when I post, you'll get an email or notification if you're using a mobile app that I posted something new, which is really cool. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time right here on Sketch-A-Day.